All right, you guys, we should be live now. If y'all want to check your pages, we should be live.
That's gonna be a problem.
What's gonna be a problem?
Oh, nothing.
Say that. You can't check your page?
Oh yeah. 1 second.
Yeah, y'all should be able to check your page. Make sure your phones are muted too because it'll pick up feedback when we start communicating. We're live. You guys can check your page to see if it's on your platform and put it on your platform. Make sure you turn the volume off on your phones.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
All right. All right. All right, you guys. Well, good evening, everybody. A fine wine 29. Good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to season 2 of the Hot Seat. I am ecstatic and excited to have some incredible panelists with me, joining me for the kickoff of season 2. Just incredibly excited to have everybody back with me. Thank you guys for all the love and support while I was on my sabbatical in between seasons, releasing my book and all the good stuff that we have going on right now. Snap clap to my team, my mastermind group, and
All
everybody
right.
and whatnot. Snap clap, come on now. Super excited about what everybody's doing right now, but we're going to go ahead and get crunk and get into the discussion. But before we do, we always want to acknowledge our creator first. I'm going to start off with a really quick prayer. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to connect with these, your incredible people. We thank you for allowing us to see another time together and to be able to come into season 2 of this amazing show. We thank you for this opportunity in Jesus' name. Amen. So somebody's got feedback from their end. Somebody's devices got feedback. All right, you guys. Well, welcome, 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 everybody. These are brand new panelists to the show, so these are not familiar faces. So we're going to go around and let everybody introduce themselves so we can get started. We're going to start with the ladies first. We got a beauty in the his aisle from Duval, my second hometown. Hey, Loretta Diane is in the building. What's up, superstar?
Hello, hello. What's up with you?
Girl, everything is gravy. You know how we do it, honey. It is
Absolutely.
so good to have you on with us. I know your schedule is really busy, but thank you so much for taking time out to connect with us tonight. We'll learn a little bit more about what you're doing and what's going on in Duval a little bit later in the show. Then we have somebody else that I met a couple of years ago via the social ministry of the social media. And Yatu Marvel is in the building with us. What up?
Hey, 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 everybody! Happy Thursday. My name is Nyatu Marvel. I hail from Chicago, Illinois,
The
and
shot.
I'm a business investor and a marketing consultant. And I started a campaign called the Black Men and Women Unification Project. And I just love to talk about Black love, relationships, marriage, and try to share perspectives and share solutions so we can get this right as a culture.
That's what's up. Ain't nobody
Yes,
told
yes,
you to give no
yes.
church announcements. I said your name. You didn't give church announcements. Ain't nobody. What?
Church announcements around here.
Loretta, you know it's
Spirit
always
got in me,
somebody.
like they say.
You know it's always somebody in the family that don't follow the family rules. And you know how it's always. I said at the end of the church we was gonna talk about all that at the end. Somebody had to do it though. Somebody had to do it. And I
Somebody
got
had
my,
to do it.
and I got my other friend on with us, my buddy, superstar, ex semi-pro basketball player in the building with us,
Stop,
football star,
stop.
baseball, soccer, tennis. What's going on? Welcome.
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? This is Danae
Everything.
Young, from Harlem, New York, and I'm ready. Let's go. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
That's what's up. Okay, you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and read the narrative from tonight's session so we can get crunk. I love to read the narrative so people can have an idea of what we're talking about and they can kind of be able to piggyback off of that. So, have you ever heard a man say she has daddy issues? I bet at one time or another you have, but what does that really mean? Studies from various schools of thought have stated that if the first relationship in our lives as women of the opposite gender is dysfunctional, chances are a number of our lives of our relationships in the adulthood will follow the same suit. The opposite seems to also weigh in with a level of truth in that some individuals become very productive and use the challenges as a platform for purpose, and they push through it to have an amazing life, even with the missing link of a great father figure. What what if these issues are the culprit of challenges for a woman who, as she begins her quest to find and have a loving, healthy relationship with someone? Tonight's topic is daddy daughter issues. Can a dysfunction with your dad stop you from having a great relationship with your man? Mm.
Mm,
I got that.
mm.
I didn't tell y'all the backdrop of this. I had a young lady who I think I talked with Loretta about this just really briefly, but I had a young lady who had these distinct challenges with her relationships, and I was coaching her, and we were talking about consistency because that's my vein for coaching. And I was saying, well, what do you do, this, that, and the other? And she started telling me about all of these things that transpired with her and her father. And I just was like, oh boy. And as we began to have a discussion, I said, you don't need coaching, honey. You need counseling for your ministry. I don't think I can. Oh, my Lord, child. So it was like she was, and I thought about it as I was talking to her, and I wrote it down in my notebook. Can this dysfunction pretty much destroy your power to be able to have a productive relationship with a man? And Yatu, I know you made mention about your campaign ministries for political office of the relationship coaching services.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start in the vein of love and relationships. When you think about things like this, when you have dialogues with women and you ask them, so what's up with you and what's your relationship like with you and your pops? How good are you and your pops? Has that been something that has been a cause for adversity in the relationships that you've had, be it platonic or romantic?
Uh, of course, but not as frequently as one might think. But it has occurred a few times in life. I don't recall telling any women that they had daddy issues, but it's impossible to be unaffected uh, when you have that void. And so either there's resentment and possibly a lack of respect for men because daddy wasn't there, or on the flip side, there can be a clinginess and a neediness and a dependency in trying to fill that void. And so it's definitely a problem, but any woman can push through it if she is aware of the need to do some work and is willing to do the work. That God in the universe has not cursed uh, every woman who didn't have a father in her life for the rest of her life. And so if a woman knows that that's her situation, as you shared earlier so eloquently, you have to seek some counseling. Nothing wrong with counseling. I don't know who's listening, but there's counseling can do wonders for you. And not that the counselor is going to tell you how to live your life, but just to vent things and get things off of your chest, and knowing that this person can never throw it in your face. They don't know anybody to tell them. Plus, it's illegal. And so it can be very healing to seek therapy and talk to a counselor. So I recommend that for everybody. I don't care if you don't think you have any issues. You might find
Right.
out once you go in.
Well, you made a very valid point when you talked about the legality of divulging information from that perspective. So it is a safety net in that regard to be able to sit with somebody and talk about that. But you said this one word in there, and I just said let me go ahead and say something because I heard a word inside
Okay.
that statement that you just made called the disrespect ministry. Mm. With that, how is that to be addressed? Mr. Young, piggyback for me. Talk to me about that part of the daddy issues with said man attempting to build a rapport with said lady, and he sees an air of disrespect. What does disrespect look like with daddy issues?
Sorry about that, getting over this cold, so excuse me. Um, I, Me myself, I've dealt with the disrespect on that level as far as not wanting to submit, feeling like she didn't have to. Um, Lack of communication. Um, More so on the lines of I don't need you, but you're just here. And then the most powerful statement that I had to go through was, "You're not my daddy," or "You're just like my daddy."
Oh, wow.
And then you dig. Then for me, I had to dig deeper and say, "Well, tell me something about your dad." And then that's when it shuts off. That's when the whole conversation, "Oh, I don't want to talk about him." But me not knowing the situation, I got that disrespect, and I didn't know why at the beginning, but once I dug deep. I had to grab the shovel and keep digging and digging until she finally opened up and gave me the outline of her relationship with her father.
Wow.
And the disrespect was the disrespect was the her daddy issue was the reason the relationship ended.
Wow. Loretta, when you start talking about the shovel digging, whose responsibility is that? Whose responsibility is that to get that shovel out and start digging up the dirt of dysfunction? Is the weight of responsibility on him, or is the weight of responsibility on her?
I really think that the weight of that responsibility is on her. Now, in a lot of situations, you have it to where the man sees it, he addresses it, and he can help point those issues out, but it's not his responsibility, it's her responsibility, because whether he's there or not, she's going to carry that with her. So if she has daddy issues, if they were dysfunctional, that's something that needs to be worked out through therapy. Seriously, like it really needs to be worked out, because I come from a different end of that. My issues with my father, they weren't dysfunctional, but I have seen friends who have had dysfunctional relationships with their fathers, and it carries into adulthood. It carries
Hmm.
into a point where sometimes you don't even know that that's what's causing a lot of that dysfunction. So it's up to the woman. It's really up to the woman to carry out those issues and make sure that she is actually addressing those issues that she has with her father in order to move forward in any type of healthy relationship with the man.
You know something, when you said that, I wonder sometimes, do we even really know that that's the
Mm-mm.
culprit that's causing the big issue with said
No.
man? We have the complaints department where we get that ear from old girl, he's such and such, such and such, such, such. Girl, what? That, and it's, but the real scenario that needs to come up never shows up, but it shows up when she's at home with him, and nobody ever
Hmm.
sees that. So when you talk about the behind the scenes scenarios, and Yatu, what does that look like when you talk about the behind the scenes issues where you get like Danae said about, you get the disrespect and the disregard and the you're not my daddy, and stuff like that, but you're already in the relationship. How is it that one can know this before they cross over into a defined relationship with somebody? What are some of the flags that wave in your head, in your eyes, when you're dealing with this said female?
Uh, my biggest experience with that, um, the young lady was able to really hide it until we lived together.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
it showed up prior to that in the couple of years before we lived together. It maybe showed up 3 times, like in a moment. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she did something, and as soon as I made her aware, I'm not, I, I wasn't, and I'm not into arguing and fight type of thing. I'm definitely not going to accept disrespect. So my thing is like, oh, okay, that's how you feel? Great. I'm gonna leave, and you know, maybe I'll talk to you again soon, and maybe I won't. But that's not my thing. So that would be the end of it right there. Either she would let me leave, and then a few hours later call me with a whole different tone and a whole different demeanor, or she would get herself together right then and there. But that still only happened 3, maybe 4 times in 2 years. But then once we lived together, on the outside it looked like this happy power couple, but on the inside, I went to see a therapist.
Oh Lord.
Maybe
Oh my God. Did you say
together.
I
signed
would
up.
see a therapist?
I signed up for therapy literally 2 weeks into living together. So that
Are you
tells you a lot right
serious?
there. No, absolutely, absolutely. Because I'm like, I don't understand this. I've never had this type of problem in my life, and and I didn't anticipate having this problem with you. So I believe in personal development, and I know that everybody contributes to a situation. So I just like, okay, let me go try to go find out what my contribution is. And yeah, I don't want to get too off into that, but
No, but that's really deep because when you said there were 3 instances, and Loretta, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when you said 3 instances, it distinctly hit my brain because I'm like, in those 3 times, in your mind, nothing went off in your mind to say, okay, this is a trigger.
Hmm. Something was being triggered.
Yeah, because you said 3 times in 2 years. Okay, now that's not a lot, but you remember when you said a couple of hours went by, you give her that space to cool off, or it'll be a fix right then. But nothing triggered in your mind to say that's something about that is not fitting into this puzzle, or was she just
uh,
able to really mask it so
she,
well that
you
you
know,
couldn't pick up on?
she. That's when you open up about your issues, and if you love somebody and they open up about their issues, you know, it's like you try to comfort them and talk to them about it. And I was young and thought I was could save the world in my
Yes.
pinky.
Oh, you thought you was
And so,
Batman for real, didn't you? You thought you was
Yes.
Batman.
yeah, I Marvel superhero that love game. Sometimes it goes to my head, and that's really the thing is that at that time my energy was so high, my energy was so good. That's probably why I only saw it 3 times in 2 years, because when anybody was around me, it's hard to be down. It's hard to be
Mm.
depressed. It's hard to be caught up in the past when the energy in the room is right. And I surrounded myself with other people like that. So whenever she came around me, or my friends or events, there was just a higher level of energy. So it looked like a rarity to me. I'm like, nobody's perfect. Like, perfection
Yeah,
is not the
I see what you're
requirement of
saying.
being
So she was
a
able
great.
to camouflage her chaos, basically, is what you're
Mm.
saying. Yeah,
Yes.
she was able to
Absolutely,
camouflage that
absolutely.
chaos. But
And
you
then
know
we
what?
lived together. She couldn't camouflage it anymore.
Yeah, you can't camouflage your chaos
Can't
when I got
pretend
to
all
wake up
day
with you
every day.
every day.
Yeah.
Not every day. Not every day.
Yeah, you can't
Loretta,
pretend all day
Loretta,
every day.
we as women, when do we ever really feel safe enough to be vulnerable to talk about those dialogues with our man? When does it come to that?
It really and honestly just depends on the woman. I know for me, if we are together, and especially if we are living together, you are seeing me. You are seeing the good, bad, the ugly. If
Hmm.
you can't accept me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. I'm talking about
So,
bathroom while we use the bathroom. I feel comfortable talking to you. I'm going to
Mm.
talk to you. I'm going to talk to you about those issues.
That's a
I'm
no
going to
for
talk
me.
because
The bathroom.
hey, hey, you can't expect me to act down first. You
That's
know, this
unnecessary. That's an unnecessary acceptance. Bathrooms have doors for a reason.
He said, talk to him after you get out the bathroom.
Yeah. Or from the other side of the door.
Yeah, yeah.
but see, you should. I know for me, I like to get things out in the open, in the beginning. Once you start talking to a person, and after you've went on a couple of dates, and you guys are adults, we're not, in high school. Okay, we're dating. We're getting those things out. We're talking about things. I mean, we're not just going day by day. We have goals, we have plans. So we're going to talk about those things. We're going to talk about those issues, and sometimes those things are going to come up. And when you're talking about those things, that lets you know, baby, if that person that is on the other side of that conversation, if they can really stand the rain. Can they stand there with you in the thick of those things that you're actually going through? Can they see past that? Can they offer some help? Can they offer some assistance? Can they be compassionate to those things? Can they be compassionate to those needs? Because I'm going to be completely and brutally honest with you. Like in the relationship that I'm in now, I don't have daddy issues. I had a great father, but in some cases, that can be to a woman's demise as well.
Absolutely.
Because if you have a woman that
comment.
has a good father and
Absolutely.
their father handled everything, their father was the it for them, and they're a daddy's girl, they're going to look at every other man and expect for another man to be that way. And if that man didn't grow up like that, you're going to think something is wrong with that man. And that's not right. That's not fair.
True.
So
I definitely want to jump in on that.
Let me hear from Mr. Young, because I wanted to go back to what Danae said about the female that you mentioned about the relationship that you were in, when you talked about the chaos, finally coming to a head, and you having to step away from the relationship. What was it that made the straw that broke the camel's back, that you just kind of said, you know what, there's nothing else that I can do to contribute to this relationship. We got to find an exit strategy.
It got to the point to where if you're not willing, I'm your man, but I'm not your counselor. I can help you, but I can't force you to get help. And sometimes we like my brother Marvel was saying, sometimes we get to a point to where we're trying to save somebody, and while you're trying to save them, you're wasting time. Time, and then you find yourself in a 4 or 5 year relationship, and it has only gotten worse. And I found my morale down. My energy is low. Every time we got into it, daddy came up. And this is 3-4 years into the relationship. So for me, it was like, you know what? I'm gonna let you do you. But this ain't for me. I'm not your father. I'm your man. But not anymore. So I gotta go. Cause my happiness has purpose to it. My happiness matters.
Right.
So I wish you the best. I'll definitely pray for you, but this is no longer fit for me. And I just had to call it quits.
That's bananas. But Loretta made a good point, and I'm glad that you brought that up. Even though the topic is about the dysfunctional component, there is a superhero component that comes along with the worship of the dad, if you will, for lack of a better word. But that daddy worshiping female who sees her father as, as close to God as possible, that there is no thing that their father cannot accomplish or cannot do or cannot provide, and things of that nature. And then a man has to come in and try to compete with that type of ideology in a woman's mind. That in itself can make a man feel so belittled as in his own identity, to make him feel like he's not worthy or worth it, or he's not good enough, or he's not strong enough, or he can't compete with that God conscious concept that that female has built up in her brain. And that it's two evils with that. There's that evil of that, and that evil of dysfunction. And there has to be a happy medium for us to get
Right.
to as. But Yatu, he wanted to say something. You know, he wanted to throw something in there when he heard that part. He was over there clapping, and he was over there clapping.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything was said that girl.
When I saw the topic, I knew that I had more experience with the opposite,
Oh
with what
wow.
Loretta talked about than I did with women who had the daddy issues that were, the actually intended topic of the show. And so,
Right.
when a man has
But
a
don't worry though.
daughter,
I already knew we was gonna go down this street. It's okay. I already got the car ready for that part. It's okay.
he loves his daughter unconditionally from birth. She doesn't have to do anything to earn that
Absolutely.
unconditional love. And, by the time she understands what love is, her father, because he unconditionally loves her and spoils her, her love for him is unconditional, and that bond is there. And so it's unrealistic for a woman, even if a man was raised that way, he's not going to have unconditional love for you at first sight. Y'all have to grow into that. It wouldn't even be appropriate for him to be trying to do all the things that your father was doing from the day he meets you. That's just too much to expect. And so when I encounter those situations, and to a degree, I feel sorry. Those women, I know that the father had great intentions. He's like, hey, I'm going to set the bar high and set the standard high. But then a lot of times it leaves them with unrealistic expectations. And so there are a lot of women who are in non-sexual, romantic relationships with their father. They partners with their father. That's who they in business with. That's who they confide in. That's who they rolling with. And they are waiting for someone else to come in and match their father's effort right from the start. And that's not likely to happen. And even if it does, how genuine can it be if someone loves you unconditionally upon sight?
Well, my
I don't
goodness,
even know you.
today did you say that? I kind of. Did he Loretta? Did he say the non-sexual ministries of combination of I love my daddy so much that he my man?
I think he did, but I can't relate with that ministry. But I think he did.
I think that's what he said. I think that's exactly what he said. My
Well,
Lord! But you know
but
what?
but it sounds about right when you got you in that situation like us. Man, is your daddy your man? Like, is he your man? Because you're expecting me to be him.
That's
And
right.
then when you don't see it, when we don't see eye to eye, well, I'm gonna go get my daddy to do it, or I'm gonna talk to my daddy about it. And then we like, is your daddy your man? I'm your man.
So check this out. That is dysfunction. That's
Yes.
dysfunction.
Absolutely.
And it's on the
Absolutely.
other
It's
side of the coin. So
absolutely dysfunction.
that's why I
Mhm.
said I knew somebody was gonna bring it up, but that's still dysfunction. That's still
It
dysfunction.
Yeah,
is.
that's the type of dysfunction I attract.
I'm gonna need
Mm.
you to get
Yeah,
yourself together. I'm gonna need you after this. I'm gonna offer you a coaching session, a free discovery session, and we're gonna get you right, honey. Get yourself right, honey.
Don't forget about me. I need that too.
Look, with
We
that
both
salt
can
and
be in. I
pepper
need that
beard,
too.
look, with that salt and pepper beard you got going, I need you to get that right today.
I mean, I earned that wisdom.
But yeah,
Well,
I mean, seriously, that is a stronger dysfunction than the negative, if you will, equation,
yeah.
because that leaves a man so frail that you can bruise a man's ego so bad that he never recovers from it.
You
And
can.
so if he finds himself deeply loving this woman, he may end up so bruised that he may not ever be able to recover from having to try to become this being that doesn't exist. And I remember I had a show last season for Father's Day, and we were talking about, the things about our dad and stuff like that. And I remember my dad proved to be human, and I thought I was gonna die. I was like,
Mm.
oh God. I mean, but it was an eye opener, Loretta. It was an eye opener because it taught me to understand that this man is just a man. He just so happened to be
Mm-hmm.
the man who created me,
Mm.
but he's still just a man. He's still just a man. Because
Right.
what, the thing that transpired, it was like a blow to my ego as a daughter. Like, oh my God, my daddy would never, but my daddy
Mm,
did. You understand what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
like in that moment, it shifted my whole understanding of what a man really was outside of the fact
mm,
that he procreated these children. That's not who
mm,
he is. That just so happened to be the result of him exchanging DNA with somebody. That was the DNA swap ministry. So that was just a
mm-hmm,
result of that transaction. But him being a man
Mm-hmm.
is totally different from him being a dad, a husband, a brother, a friend,
Right.
what all those other different roles that he plays. And so I remember when my dad and I finally got to that space where we were able to be cohesive and I just finally came to that place. I said, you know what? I respect you for who you are. I am not looking for you to be anybody else. You good, you're my father, and I honor and I respect you as my dad. But you're a man, and I had to get him out of that pedestal in my brain and just get my own consciousness together so I could have a totally healthy, embodied, mutual love, freedom, and respect relationship and not have that tainted idea that, oh, you know what, you gonna do this and you gonna do that because my daddy did it. That's just oof, that
Yeah.
oh my God.
Your
That is,
dad got caught with his hand in the cookie jar?
you know what? I'm talking about both hands in the jar, inside the jar. Evidence locker, evidence locker. Be talking about, is that that wasn't your fingerprints, was it?
Oh,
Yes.
man.
But but I'm grateful that that happened because it did change my whole idea, and that's a good thing. It wasn't a bad thing. It was actually a good thing because it did change my thought process of what dad really is and what dad is. His role is as daddy. You know what I mean?
Mm.
If
It
I
put him in
may,
perspective.
I heard you keep saying he's just a man. And every time you said that,
Not negatively. You understand what I'm saying? He's
every
human.
time
It's
you
almost
said
like,
it,
but
I,
you, but the reason why I said that is because we put people on pedestals by position. Like if a preacher falls from grace, now it's like, oh my God, that was Pastor such and such. Well, he was a man first. You understand what I mean? So it's like putting. It was just like, and I don't want to. I don't know, hope nobody want to defend it all in the in the comments ministry. But I didn't mean anything negatively by that. But what I was saying basically was we're all human beings, and so because we're embodied in flesh, we will have issues and things that will manifest. And so, like, when we put these leaders, these big time leaders of this and this big time, these musical artists that we idolize, or this athlete, or whatever the case might be, when they fall from whatever we call grace is, we go, oh my God, girl, can you believe he did that? Yeah, he a man. And
Yeah.
and just you understand what I mean? So we
Mm-hmm.
put
Yeah.
people, like you
Yeah.
said, on that pedestal that is not attainable in reality. So when they prove to be human, we have this big issue.
I like that word so much better. Human. It's
But
so
all right,
universal.
all right. Well, all right.
Absolutely.
It's such a universal
Absolutely.
word. He's
Let me
human.
let me let me highlight that. Hold on. Let me get my paper. Put it on my paper.
As a Marvel superhero,
Human.
what I've noticed about superheroes is they all have alter egos because they can't be a superhero 24 hours a day, 365
Right.
days a year.
You better say
Everybody
Facts.
it.
got an alter ego because you have to have a break from being that. And many men break themselves mentally, emotionally, and physically trying to
Right.
be Superman 24 hours a day, 365 days
So is that why you got
a
your
year.
Clark
So
Kent
we are
glasses
human.
on? Is that why you got your Clark Kent glasses on? Is that why you got on them
That's
glasses,
right.
Clark Kent?
He's my Clark
Okay.
Kent glass, baby.
Okay.
But
All
after
right
the
then.
podcast, we'll take them
All right
off.
then. All right then. So we gonna head to the comments because they fired off over here in the comments section. We gonna see
Oh,
what these
okay.
folks talking about over
I
here.
love it.
I see some things popping up over here. So one of my contributing authors is in the building tonight. Rob Malloy, what up? He said, I believe it takes a major situation or circumstance, and depending on the response, that's when the conversation happens. That's something that Janae was talking about earlier when the conversation would pop up after they had a big blowout or a scenario where all of a sudden here goes that conversation about daddy. And then Rob also said most times there needs to be a test to God for truth, to gauge the truth. Yeah, true. To gauge the truth. And then Robert Lee says women sometimes have to have several temporary relationships to be able to face the reality it is not the men, but that she hasn't healed from her childhood traumas. Self love, self care. Very true. Very true. And Loretta says it sounds bad, but sometimes the ideological thinking is present. The idle thinking is present. True. And then Gracie had said that's extremely dysfunctional when we were talking about the concept of the woman who worships the dead concept. And then we have Freddie saying inappropriate to discuss thoughts on Father's Day. Well, we weren't just, it wasn't on Father's Day. It was a father's discussion around that time of year. So And then he said, Danae Young, are these your people? That's one of your people.
You don't like us.
Freddie said, is these your people? And so Joy says, I have to come to that people are just human and they will do crap at some times in their life. True. And then Joy also says, have come to that discussion that we are all human. We are definitely all human, and we all need an opportunity to be able to have our challenges and be safe, be able to be in a safe space with our person, to be able to have those challenges, but not to be in a place to where those challenges override our ability to still keep that mutual love, freedom, and respect intact at all times. Loretta, I heard you talk about you didn't have the issues with the other side of the tracks. And then you talked about your good dad, and then you talked about your current relationship, and then you got off of it real quick. Go ahead and elaborate just a little bit more about what you was thinking over there.
No, well, what I was meaning by that is I didn't have dysfunctional daddy issues where, we had issues in my childhood with my father. I had a great relationship with my father. I was a daddy's girl. I followed him around everywhere, which I noticed when I got older, sometimes that could have been to a fault, meaning how independent that he made me. It was one of those things where I didn't always try to, but I'm not going to say that I would always be told, well, you're too independent, or what do you need me for? Or what do you need me for? Do you need me for this or do you need me for that? And it was never my intention to make anyone feel like I didn't need you. It was just, I was just that independent. I had to learn how to not be so rough around the edges. I had to learn how to put some finesse on it, because being a daddy's girl and always being around daddy, I was a tomboy at heart, but I handled a lot of things with a lot more masculinity than femininity, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so absolutely. I learned, and it took I'll be honest, it took for me being in my current relationship. My boyfriend is very, very, what's the word that I can use? Gentle with me. He's very gentle with me and letting me know when certain things are out of line or certain things are out of place. And he does it in a way to where it's not demeaning. It's not disrespectful. He's never once raised his voice at me or insinuated, you have these issues or you have those issues. We talk, and he brings it down to a point to where it's like, okay, this is an issue, because if he notices this here, I'm noticing that it's trickling over into this area and it's trickling over into that area. And that's how dialogue opened up. And that's how we started having those conversations. And I'm going to be honest with you, in the beginning, it was kind of like, who are you talking to? Like, who are you talking to? But
did y'all see that neck roll?
Yeah.
Put it in there, baby.
But it helped me. it it really did help me, and it's important, and especially when a woman does have those issues, what regardless of what tracks that it's on, it's
Right.
important for you to both adults to be able to sit down, talk about those issues, and whether they whoever has the issues or whatever it is that's going on, it has to be within self, because I had to realize what issues that I had to realize those issues that I had that was trickling over, and I had to deal with those. So
And
yeah,
see,
it's
that's
really hard.
powerful that you said that, though. That's powerful that you said that,
Mhm.
because the key was not only what was he able to connect with you and be patient enough to deal with, what he was facing that he didn't like. He was still open to saying, okay, you know what, I don't like this about her, but the relationship is strong enough for me to deal with this. And you keyed in and said, wait a minute, let me address this myself. And that's what I was saying earlier, that it's important for us as women to take that bull, that bull by the horns and say, okay, you know what, this is not him, it is me. Robert Lee made a comment in there and said sometimes women do end up having to have a certain amount of temporary relationships before they actually come to that place in life to where they say, oh, I'm the common denominator in these challenges. This is why I'm here right now. I am that common denominator, and I do need to make some adjustments, and I need to make them now before I find myself 50 and 60 and still looking around like, whereas Mr. X, I don't like using the term Boaz. I hate when people use that term. Hate is a strong word. Forgive me. I don't like it. Let me rephrase that. But I don't like hearing that terminology. But waking up at 45, 55, 60, and still not being able to have that relationship that some women are longing for, they have to realize and come to that conclusion that something, and it may not be necessarily a daddy challenge, it may be some other area that's prohibiting them from having that maximized beauty in a wholesome, healthy, long-term commitment with someone. Something is wrong somewhere. If you got to go from person to person and pillar to post, and you got to say, wait a minute, I'm the common denominator. So even in that, gentlemen, as we talk about this discussion very, very candidly and openly, what would you say would be some nuggets that women can take away that would help them to see themselves in that space of necessary transformation? What do you think would be some keys that women can take away to help them get that started on that journey?
I would say some of the keys that would be able that they could take away to be able to help them with that is self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Self-awareness being one of the main ones. Like, we have to really, really be honest with ourselves. We have to
Mm-hmm.
really, really take a look in the mirror, because it's not always everybody else. It's
Right,
not
right,
always
right,
everybody.
right,
So we
right,
have to take that first step to say, hey, these are some issues that I have been having. And we know that they're issues. Like, we have to be real, we have to be honest with ourselves. Like, it
mm-hmm.
doesn't take for you to go to therapy and sit on a couch for 7 sessions to figure out, hey, sis, you got some issues. We
Right,
already know this. So we have to be more intentional about wanting to become the person that we want to become, because that's the
right.
bottom line of it. Because you're never going to fulfill your purpose to get to where you want to be in life until you let go of that other person that you made up for everyone else and become your true, authentic self.
Did you say the other person that you made up, the actress ministry? Did you say the other person?
Yeah, yeah, we got a lot of actress ministry going on, because a lot of times you got a whole lot of people running out here. They don't know who they are. They are running out here being a version of themselves that they think everyone else wants them to be. But when they grow in their own authenticity, that's when purpose emerges.
Watch yourself
Facts.
now. Watch yourself. Watch yourself now. Watch yourself.
Facts.
Hey,
Watch
hey,
watch yourself now. Watch yourself.
hey,
Let the church
watch.
say amen. Let the church say
Amen.
amen. Amen again. That it's funny that you said that, because one of my coaches that worked with me on the project, we talked about authenticity and how imperative it is to just go be who you really are. So, every now and then, I don't do it on the Book of Faces, but on Instagram ministry, girl, I get on there and do a little video and just look like my regular self. Not this self, but me. Y'all that follow me on IG, y'all know what happens on Saturday mornings. Y'all know how we get down on Saturday mornings.
Just keep
I don't even
it
worry
real
about the
Saturdays, huh?
y'all. You said it on Saturday, and y'all too. You a witness. You know what happened on Saturday morning.
Keep it real Saturdays, huh?
On Saturday, real world Saturday, real world Saturday. But
Yeah.
That's true. When you get to that space where you are comfortable in your own skin and you've accepted yourself, flaws and the fame, flaws and the fabulous, you on your way. You're on your way to becoming incredible and being of tremendous value to some man somewhere. He waiting on you, girl, to show him
You
up.
know what? The duality of life says that can also be the problem. I hear so many people say, this is just me. And it's the worst version of themselves that they saying that this is just me, that they holding on to.
God.
I say the stand your ground law ain't just for guns and fights. Some people stand their ground on stupidity and fairness and selfishness.
Wait a minute, did you say stand your ground?
Yeah, people standing their ground on that ignorance. It's like they don't care. They like, I said what I said. We got whole sayings in the culture to help you stay at your lowest self. And so people have to really read up on emotional intelligence, understand what that is as a concept.
Right. Right.
And then it won't happen overnight. It's gonna take some practice.
Yeah, it's gonna take a whole lot of practice.
A whole lot.
Become have some intelligence as it pertains to your emotions, and that will do wonders for you and your life, man or woman. But so people have to really stop and look at themselves and ask themselves, why am I this way? Don't just say, this is me. Examine why you are this way. And if it works for you and it fits, then yes, hold on to it. But if it's creating all these unnecessary obstacles and problems for you in life, and you keep repeating these same mistakes and problems over and over again, and attracting these same circumstances that aren't healthy for you over and over again, then it's, as you said earlier, P. Coffee, it's not it's not the world. You the common denominator. It's you.
Right. Now let me qualify what Loretta and I was saying about this authentic journey and everything. We're not talking about the lower self. We're talking about the highest version of yourself. Okay. We want to say that for the viewers. We want to say that for the viewers.
No words next week on another podcast.
Level up.
We want the viewers to understand that in Yatu is not talking about us, of what we're saying. He is adding to the equation something else. Let me roll my neck with it so we can make sure we get it all.
Right, you gotta roll your neck so they understand what's going on.
But Mr. Young, you've been way too quiet over there in the quiet corner.
But see, I'm just gonna say this, and there's so much purpose in accountability. Mm-hmm. There's so much purpose in accountability. It can't be, oh, it's your fault, or it's his fault, or it's her fault. Listen, we have to be able, like Miss Loretta said, look in the mirror and dig deep into ourselves, because the truth hurts, but it heals as well. The truth hurts, but it heals. You gotta be accountable. You gotta hold yourself accountable. There's so much purpose in it, because so many people, they lied to themselves for so long. And just like Bro Marvel said, this is just me. Absolutely not. You're better than that. But until you hold yourself accountable, you will be here and everybody will be looking down. So you got to level up and understand that being your authentic self, being who God has called you to be, is the best version of yourself.
Right.
And just hold yourself accountable.
And but you said a key to that though. Yeah. When you talk about accountability though, here's the thing to accountability. It has to be a group effort. When people are accountable to themselves, it's almost like having that self-counseling session and yeah. And so not only do you have to be accountable to self, but you got to be accountable to someone who has or is on that journey to becoming their best and highest version, of what you're talking about. Because a lot of your posts, you talk about that, about about that, getting that to that space to where you can finally, like and Yasu said earlier, you can be Clark Kent and say, okay, I'm not gonna have the cape on right now. I need help. I am frail. I am fragile in this area of my life, and I need to figure out how to fix this part of myself. It's like,
Mm.
I write insurance for the state of Texas. I'm a risk management advisor for the state of Texas, and I go to these meetings from time to time, and they talk about this thing that we have to make sure that we're in compliance with the state of Texas, and that's our responsibility to Big Brother. And when we're out of compliance, it's a risk that we can lose everything. We can lose our license, we can lose the agency. It can be so many other things that cause a risk of not being accountable for compliance. That's that same concept to where you got to go be accountable to somebody else about, hey, why isn't this handled? Why haven't you handled this? Why haven't you taken care
Yes.
of that?
Yes.
Have you not, understood that you got to do this, and you know you have to do it. So why is it not done? And that's a beautiful thing that somebody can be inside of our lives in that regard to help us to push past these defects and this dysfunction. Once we get to that place, like what Loretta said earlier, when you're self-aware and and you get to that space where you say, okay, you know what, I'm willing to allow someone in here to dig in the trenches with me to help me become who I was created to be. And so that's a powerful thing when you talked about that, Danae, about who God created us to be. We got to get to that space where we're even open to even have a clear even imagination of what that even looks like. There's so many people that have no idea what that even looks like because they have not gotten to that space of authenticity to where they're just like I call it the naked syndrome, to where you're just nude. There is no clothes on. There is nothing to hide the scars and the stretch marks and all of that kind of stuff, and the blemishes and the spots and all that kind of stuff, and you're good there. You still feel same confidence as you do when you throw that weave on and get your nails done and whatnot. The same confidence is still present, not because you presented yourself in a different way, because you know who you are. So that's important to dig down to that person, to get down to that part of you that you don't necessarily totally like. And I think that helps us to build up to the truth about what we're dealing with in this kind of situation with this dysfunctional stuff that's happening with people. And it happens to a lot of women. It happens to a lot of men where their fathers were not present. And we don't have those conversations as much as we need to, but it's a lot of
We
boys out there
can.
that wish they had a daddy. You know what I'm saying? They wish
We
they had
can.
a man. Oh, we're gonna talk about it. Don't you worry. It's on the
Let
list.
me know. I'm all
It's
in.
on the list. It's on the list. Don't you worry, honey. It's on the list of shows. Don't worry. But but seriously, we all need a little bit of help. We all need
We
a
do.
little bit of help, and we need each other to be able to achieve these goals. You guys, we are at the top of the hour. I mean, my goodness, that went by so fast. Look, Theodosius,
It
Mr.
sure
Massey,
did.
Mr. Massey
Time
said that
flies when you're having
y'all
fun.
men are on it. Y'all got some brothers in y'all amen corner in the chat. They over there saying amen and hallelujah to the brothers
Salute, salute,
all in the chat.
Salute. Salute.
Salute,
salute,
no
salute.
doubt, really. But you
Yes,
guys, it's
sir.
like it's at the 9 o'clock hour, and I know Loretta's on the East Coast, and so it's at the 10 o'clock hour for her. And the rest of us, we still chilling because it ain't really late for us just yet. But we want to be cognizant of the time, and we don't want to keep Loretta here all night. We would keep you all night. We would do it, but we want to be cognizant of the time, no doubt. So I just
So,
wanted to, first of all, thank you guys for making this first show incredible. People DMing me that don't want to talk in chat. You know how they do. They DM and all during the show. Just get on the chat and say what you got to say. Don't DM me about it. Talk to the people. Yeah, you got to say it. No. I don't want to hear about it. Then get on the chat with everybody else. Don't be DMing me about the situation.
I
But
might appreciate the discretion.
I'm like, really? Don't DM me about what he said. You better get on the chat with him. Somebody always do that. Somebody always do that in the deaconess department. Every time. Every time. But seriously, though, you guys, this has been incredible. I am so appreciative of you guys being able to step up to the plate and connect with me this week. And Mr. Young, he's not feeling the best. Lord bless his heart. That's why he's so quiet. Lord, thank you for coming anyway. Thank you so. He don't feel well at all, y'all. Seriously.
Getting
Bless his
better
heart.
as we go.
Yeah, he getting
I know
better.
that's
He
right.
getting better. But my brother from another mister, he wasn't feeling
Been
well
going
today.
through it.
He was not feeling well.
Been
So
going
Mr.
through it.
Young, so we got to give him a snap clap for coming on through with us this evening. Thank you so much. We appreciate
Give a
you.
record clap,
Appreciate you.
man
Appreciate you.
clap.
Loved it. Appreciate it.
Watch out now. So
Yes,
Loretta, go ahead
sir.
and tell everybody who you are, where you're from, how they can connect to you, and be able to participate in whatever you're doing now. I know you're working on some projects and things of that nature. Tell the people who you are.
Yes, I am Loretta Diane. I am curator, visionary, and founder of Woman Unleashed. And Woman Unleashed is a movement designed to help women tap into their power from within and unleash their inner beast and create generational wealth through breaking generational curses. And I can be found on social media via Facebook and Instagram, Loretta Diane, or you can find me on my business page, Woman Unleashed, and online, lorettadiane.com. And right now, we are working on our retreat. It is the Awakening Retreat. I'm super excited about that. We just geared up and we finished our Purpose Edition conference November 30th, and that actually will be aired for the world to see tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And you
Awesome.
can find that on my page as well. You can find the links of where you can watch the show tomorrow night and Friday, and you can watch it Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And our retreat will actually be in Daytona Beach, Florida, this March 27th through 29th. And the tickets are on sale now, and you can find that as well at lorettadiane.com or Loretta Diane on Facebook and Instagram.
That's what's up. All right, Loretta Diane is in the building. Y'all give us snap clap on the
Indeed.
Loretta Diane. I
Yes,
love it, girl.
indeed.
That's what I'm talking about. I love it. Yes.
Yes,
All right,
and I'm
Mr.
going to have
Young. Okay, Mr. Young, I know you just started your podcast, and I know you've had a few significant speaking engagements in your quest to share the wealth of who you are across the globe. Talk to us about what you're doing, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you once again for having me. My name is Danae Young. I am from Harlem, New York, but I reside in Las Vegas, Nevada. Been here for about 2 years. Author, motivational speaker, life coach. I just created my own business, which is called Speak Nate Visions. I will be putting out content as far as in podcasts, short films, just pretty. I just love. Basically, that's what I'm about. I'm about realness, keeping it 100, and just love. Wanting to see everybody win. Wanted to see everybody win. I come from homelessness. I come from, lots of dysfunction. But with God, I've been good. Even in those bad times, I've been good. So I'm pushing people to know that no matter what you've been through, long as your heart is beating, long as you are breathing, you got some time. Because if we don't know nothing, we can check out the Kobe Bryant situation. We just don't know
Right,
how much time we got.
right, right.
So I'm here to do what God has called me to do, and that's to put people in a better light, a smiling heart, unconditional love, unconditional peace, unconditional happiness.
Right.
I'm pushing unconditional everything. Positive vibes only, nothing negative. And you can reach me social media via Facebook, Danae Young, Danai, last name Young. Instagram, Twitter. Instagram is Talk Heavy Nate, and Twitter is Danae Young, Danai, last name Young.
Awesome. That's what's up. Okay, you guys make sure when we get off the air, you guys just put your information in the chat for the community to be able to have access to you for those that are interested in connecting to you. And Yatu already gave his elevator speech when we
Already
started.
gave my
He
2 minute
already gave
pitch.
his elevator speech.
But
But
I know
I'm
he
not
got something else to say, so I'm trying to hear it.
you
No,
you
I'm tagged in the post. That's how you can tag me on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm marvelous since 1974, and I'm not active on the rest of social media, so won't even tell you my Twitter. I haven't tweeted in years.
hilarious. Hilarious. Well, you guys know how to find me. I'm your host, Coach P. Coffee Brown, here in the great state of Texas, where everything is bigger. At least that's what they
All
told me
right
when I
now.
got here. At least that's what they told me when I got here. But you guys can get a copy of my brand new book, The Race to the Ring, The Seven C's of a Successful Courtship. It's all about relationship building, the building blocks to have a successful, dynamic, and powerful relationship. It doesn't matter whether you're married, single, want to be married, trying to be married, wish you was married. If you don't want to be married, it's still good if you want to have a relationship with anybody and it pertains to love. This book is definitely for you. Definitely get your copy. All the information is posted, is plastered on all my social media platforms. The official release to the universe is on Valentine's Day, and that will be posted on my page when we get to Valentine's Day. But in the meantime, in between time, y'all know I'm your consistency coach. I can help you keep it real on a consistent basis. We want to do the same thing all the time because we don't need to be doing no flip ups and switch ups and whatnot. We have to do
Right.
the same thing. We have to do the same thing. So anywho, if you guys want to connect with me, you know how to reach me. I am on social media under everything P Coffee Brown, pcoffeebrown.com, pcoffeebrown.org, pcoffeebrown.info to find your
Love it.
girl. And it's Koffe. Don't get it twisted. Don't do no Koffe. You won't find me, honey. Ko
Right.
to the FE, okay? But this has
Thank you
been
so much for having me, P. Coffee Brown. I am
Thank
so
you for
Thank you,
coming
thank you,
appreciative and
thank
honored
you.
to be a
Thank you
part
so
of your
much. Thank you.
the opener, the season opener, the first
right.
episode of the Hot Seat. An honor
No
and a
doubt.
pleasure. It was great to
It was
meet the other
a pleasure.
panelists. I
Awesome.
definitely be
Yes,
adding y'all on
indeed.
Facebook and following y'all on Instagram. And yeah, let's keep it moving for the culture.
Let's
No
keep it
doubt.
moving.
Let's keep it moving for the race, the human race. Okay, we all in the same race. It's called human. So I appreciate you guys for being on the show tonight. All of my followers, thank you guys for tuning in and watching, connecting with me as always. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Without you, it's no me. With that being said, I will see you guys in 2 weeks. The show will air on the second and fourth Thursdays of the month. I'm doing recording and all kinds of stuff, and I'm going on a book tour. So keep us in your thoughts and your prayers. My team and I, we will be going across the nation, spreading the love of our new project. We're at well over 300 sales already, so we're super excited about the launch, and it's just been in pre-sale mode, so we're super excited about the release and what's going to manifest from there. But we'll keep you guys posted as to what city we'll be in. We'll be in Duval County. We will be in Chicago, and we may have to go
Yes.
over to Vegas. I got my family over there in the Vegas. I may come on through to Vegas.
Yeah,
What
come on
happens in
through.
Vegas
Come
don't
on
have to
through.
stay there. What happens in Vegas don't have to stay there. That's
Come on
my
through.
only way to go. Look, Mr. Young, when I go to Vegas, don't nobody know I was there. That's where I let my hair down for real. That's where my hair be down for real, the rest.
Yeah,
All right now.
yeah.
I love that spot, man. That's my hangout spot. I love Vegas, truthfully, serious, real talk. But no, guys, thank you so much for your time and your energy and just your perspectives. It was just powerful and impactful, and I really, really appreciate you guys. Kudos on everything that you're doing. We're here to support. Let me know what I can do to add value to any of you guys. What you need me to do. You already know I'm down for the team. I'm down for the team. Winning. Team winning. So have a blessed evening, you guys, the balance of your night, and I will see you guys in a few weeks with more incredible guests and another segment of the hot seat. We're going to see who's going to get in here and get fired up next time. Y'all have a blessed night, and we will see you in
Good
the
night,
future,
everybody.
God willing. All right.
Night.
Blessings,
Thank you
blessings.
so much.
Good night.
Appreciate you guys.